for someone who's a maniac like myself and can go ride the roller coaster to no end, like that is a great suggestion for someone like me. I'm stealing that one.
This is the Drop Podcast, where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott, and this episode is presented by the Law Office of Mallon and Tranger.
What's going on, everyone? The Christmas season is upon us. We got Christmas right around the corner. Hanukkah's going on, so happy Hanukkah to all those listening, and a soon-to-be Merry Christmas for all of you listening as well. This is going to be our last episode before Christmas, and I want to get it out of the way, Mike. I want to give everyone the sad news that we are going to put a pause on some of our social stuff for the winter. The weekly work and the Mike's Verse, it's just too tough in New Jersey to get out there January, February, so we're going to put a little pause on that for the next couple months. It's again, just a little too tough to do that. So we'll come back with it in probably March, unless we get a bonus day here or there. But I did want to let you guys know that as far as that's concerned, we're going to slow down some of that content. With that said, though, we're still rolling on the podcast. The podcast episodes are still going to go out. We're still going to have stuff on social media. It's really just those two segments that we're going to put a pause on there for us.
Yeah, I think just to kind of, with the weather and all, if we can get a Mike Versus out there or a weekly work out there, we will. But I know we've been really rock solid in terms of consistency with getting those out on every Monday and every Friday. And obviously, I think most people know, the Northeast and in particular New Jersey, it's tough to get out there on a consistent basis to have that content. So, just tossing it out there so the audience knows that, unfortunately, we're not going to have any more of that. We do have some videos that will still pop out here and there. And I know in particular, I got one that the audience will have seen already on Monday. That's a little, Christmas unboxing. So they would have seen that already. But, again, keep your eyes out. Things will still continue to pop out there.
Yeah, for sure. So today we're going to talk. We got some Christmas talk. We got some new segments we're gonna introduce to you, and then we have the head pro at Manasquan River, Chris Dymek. Guys, this is an we say unbelievable quite a lot. We gotta improve our vocabulary there, but it really is an unbelievable interview. He is a great person, great golfer. Obviously close to Mike's heart there, being at Manasquan River, but he's really, I've met him just in passing 2 or 3 times, and it honestly feels like that we were old friends in the interview. Like, he was super genuine. It was an incredible interview. So we got that at the end of the podcast. We're really truly fortunate to have some great people on. I mean, Chris is awesome. We've had Ryan and Nick and a number of other people that we've had on. It's just an incredible, the great people that we've had on. We've had just some awesome interviews, and then not to mention they're big names in the golf community. But it's really been truly amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's been the one eye-opening thing that I truly can say is the people in New Jersey golf have really embraced golfing in the Garden State, and everybody's been willing and able to come on, give us a few minutes, talk shop. It's been a huge thing. And before we get going, Ryan, I do want to give a little shout out here to Leave the Pin podcast. Dan is the host, and Dan DM'd us on Instagram and said, listen, I'd love for you guys to come on my show, talk a little bit about, your favorite golf course. And it kind of fits in perfectly here with Chris on the back end here of ours is, I got to go on his podcast and talk specifically about Manasquan River, all the amazing things about the membership, the golf course, the views, the river. So again, you should go check them out. It's his latest episode, number 182, Leave the Pin. He's doing a little, segment or a sub-series, I should say, on, people's favorite golf courses. And I was fortunate to go on there to talk about us, about that golf course. So go check that out as well. Leave the Pin. He does a little My Course, subsection of what he has going on there.
Yeah, it's an awesome interview with Mike. Mike got to go on and talk about Manasquan, so it's really great. So you can find that podcast, Leave the Pin, where all podcasts are found. You can find all our stuff. We got all our content on YouTube. That's the Drop Golf Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Pods at the Drop Podcast. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. And no matter how you consume us, please like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along. All right, Mike. So I want to start with going back to last week. We talked some par threes with Nick, and then kind of behind the scenes throughout the week and after the interview, we went into we came up with what are our favorite par threes in New Jersey. And then we posted that as we put it out, but we never really talked about it. And I wanted to kind of put it out there and kind of defend or kind of tell why these par threes are our favorites.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Do you know which ones you have? I have yours pulled up.
Yep.
You got yours?
Yeah, I got a good memory.
I don't.
So
Mike,
I'll go from 5 to 1 in terms of my favorite. And again, to me, I looked at it let me go back in a sense, because it's the end of the year. Let's talk about the 2022 season. That's kind of how I took this as top 5 par threes, is really how I looked at it. And again, for me, it's all about New Jersey golf. So I'm finding the 5 golf courses specifically designed here. And number 5 for me was Scotland Run's 9th hole. A little over 200 yards from the blue tees. But I think what really stood out more so than anything is the backdrop of that 9th hole there. You got the clubhouse right there. You got the pro shop. It's a 2-tiered green. It was one of the holes that specifically that when I was there truly stood out. So to me, it stuck in my mind. I thought about it. I made that number 5. Number 4 for me was actually the 4th hole at Watchung Valley. If you ever played there, it's a short little par 3, probably about 130 yards. But I think with the green being a little elevated, the trees surrounding it, I think aesthetically, again, just kind of nested in the woods a little bit. A hole that just, again, sticks out, because I think when we talked par 3s, it's something different. It's not the 200-yard banger par 3 that everybody kind of deals with. This was a shorter one, and I thought that was really cool. The next one for me, number 3, was the 6th hole at Ballyowen. Again, not the longest hole in terms of yardage, probably about 150, but with their other tee boxes can stretch all the way back to 180. But I thought the shot of entirely over water was a really cool looking shot from the tee box, because again, it's not always the same thing. Now this one was all carry. I think that mental, play about, I gotta hit this pure, because if I chunk it, I'm in the water. And now I'm looking at a double at best. So again, to me, that was number 3. Number 2 was the 15th hole. Again, this may be biased to some people, but is Manasquan River. I think where that tee box normally sits, the people that listen and that have played that hole know that everybody bails out to the right. Most guys that hit a cut aren't taking that thing over the water to cut that ball into the green. They're normally missing it right. And the people that play a draw are still also bailing out right, because they don't want to dump it in the drink. So to me, that 15th hole, and again, it could be stretched out in many different ways. It could be 180 or it could be all the way back at 220-ish, is a very challenging hole in terms of finishing a round of golf. Let it be known that that's probably why it's in that range of the 15th hole. Again, that's my second one. And I thought the number 1 hole for me was just the 8th hole at the Ridge at Backbrook. The backdrop, the bunkers, the green, the many different tee boxes. I think that is a picturesque par 3. You can clearly see why when you see all the pictures, that when I see the Ridge, it's typically that hole. So for me, those were my top 5. Again, I probably could have thought of some other ones, but the ones that stood out more so than any others were those 5.
So I took a little bit of a different approach to it. We did this totally separately. Like I was like, Mike, give me your top 3 par 3s, and like didn't give any other thing about it. So Mike took it as this year. I didn't necessarily take it as this year. I kind of looked in the last maybe couple years, especially since I've been getting more into like bigger golf or more serious golf. Again, not playing like tournaments or whatever, but like really caring about golf. And I'll go from 5 to 1 as well. My number 5 was the 15th hole at Seaview, the Bay course. I think I feel like it was like 200-ish yards. It's a little uphill, surrounded by bunkers. But the thing that brought it to my eye was you're hitting out of a chute. You kind of pull up with the carts, and then you got to walk backwards maybe 25, 30 yards, and you're in like the reeds that are right on the bay there. And kind of when you pull up, you can see Atlantic City in the background. You got a beautiful view of the water and of AC. When you're teeing off, you can't see it because the reeds are 7-8 feet tall and they're kind of wrapped around you. So kind of hitting out of that chute is really pretty cool to a difficult green. It's got a lot of undulations, a lot of protection. My 4th one was the 8th hole at Little Mill. It was our 17th hole, but the 8th hole on the blue course, and that was incredible. I thought it was like 142, but playing 127. I don't know why those numbers stick in my head, but you're super elevated. It's a beautiful, like Troy was saying, you could see Atlantic City in the background on a clear day, which, you know, you're not close to Atlantic City. So the fact that you can be up high enough above all the trees and on a clear day kind of see Atlantic City is really cool to me. You're up super high, and then as you kind of, when you're on the green and you look backwards, flower beds, trees, that kind of stuff, as you looked back kind of leading up to where the tee box was, it was really, really very nice. And that hole was really, really impressive. Now, I didn't play it this year, but I did get on to play Ridgewood last year, and the 5th hole on the center course was awesome as well. Again, kind of elevated. You got the tee boxes are tiered, and each one's like a level down. Really not anything special as far as like the backdrop of the hole or anything. You're kind of hitting into the woods. But the thing that's gotten that hole is the hole right before that kidney bean shaped hole. It's like a 278 yard par 4 is the next hole, the one where Phil Mickelson hits it into the grandstand, and that's kind of like a famous hole that's happened there. So back-to-back holes, those 2 holes back-to-back are really good. But that, again, same kind of thing, tiered, really beautiful landscape, architecture, all that stuff for that hole. I kind of went back and forth on this second one, and I didn't want to put multiples from the same course on my list. This is kind of where we varied. I went with the 4th hole at Hollywood, which we talked about last week. That hole is amazing to me. It's beautiful. It's short but plays longer, and it's got so many things to consider. And again, I don't want to go too deep into it because we did go into it last week. I do want to say that the other hole that I thought about from Hollywood is the 17th hole. They just redid it to make it like it was when the course was originally built. It can go back to, I think it tops out at like 225 or something like that. It can be very long from the back, but you can run it up there. There's I don't want to say a 2-tiered green, but the green is split down the middle with like this hump. And if the pin's on the left and you're on the right and you have to putt it over the hill or over the mound that's in the middle, you're not keeping it on the green. And that's something I know that a lot of the members there talk about. Like, some really don't like it because it's too challenging. I like the history of it, that they made that hole exactly like they did when it was built in the early 1900s. And then has nothing to do with the hole, but to get to the 18th, the white tees on the 18th hole, you go through, there's like a berm along the whole right-hand side, and there's a little tunnel that goes through the berm to get you to the white tees, which is just a cool aesthetic there as well. But again, I didn't want to have 2 from the same course on there, so I went with 4 over 17, but 17's awesome as well. And then to the last point, the 8th hole at the Ridge is incredible. I mean, you're hitting into that backdrop of a mountain is really what it is. There's that little stream back there. The mountain is just, it's got to be 50 feet of backdrop there. It's incredible. And then the hole itself is amazing. So the views are awesome is the only way to put, like, you don't get mountain views like that very many places where we play. So to have that was great, and it's a great hole. So, and you said all of it as well. It's both our number 1 holes, and I think that's evidence for a reason there.
Yeah, and I think if the audience has a top 5 or a specific one even that stands out, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear what people think is their favorite. I know some people have already DM'd us after that episode and said, hey, listen, I like this one more, I like that one more. So again, we're always inclined to listen, hear, and maybe go experience it ourselves too.
Maybe we can put a poll out, Mike, of what do we got? 8? We'll put our 8 out there and see which one gets the nod. So yeah, we just wanted to recap a little bit on last week, kind of defend our par 3s. Mike, moving into some more recent golf news and getting us a little bit out of New Jersey, but something that happens that's huge in golf, I think is okay to touch upon. I absolutely love the PNC Championship. I think this is the coolest event. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that it was going on, but seeing parents play with their kids, like if you don't know, it's a parent-child event. So one of them has to be a pro golfer. So, Tiger's playing with his son, Charlie. But then, like, Nelly Korda is playing, who's the pro golfer, is playing with her father. It's just, I think it's the coolest thing. I love seeing the scramble aspect of it, which I don't, the PGA Tour is great, but I would love to see them do more of, like, those, more match play, more 2-on-2, more get into some different stuff in golf. More, I guess we'll go some different games in golf, which we'll do some foreshadowing for a few minutes. But I think it's such a great event. I absolutely love it in those shoes. As my dad doesn't play golf, so I think that it would be, how special it must be for them to play with their father is something that I'm super envious of. And then to put it on that scale, they look like they're having so much fun out there. I can't say enough good things about it. I absolutely love it. And it's just wholesome, if you ask me. And I really love it.
And I think to emphasize your point, like the father-son relationship in golf, and I think that's probably why I bring it up so much in our podcast here when I talk about, my dad and I always playing and being competitive. Because they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I think my mannerisms and kind of how I can be emulates a lot of the things that he does or is and how he acts. And I do think, to your point, like, just being out there, watching those two together reminds me back when my grandfather was around and we would always play in the father-son at Manasquan River. All of us. It would be my dad, my uncle or his brother, my grandfather, and then all the grandkids. And we would all play with our dads underneath my grandfather at the father-son at Manasquan River right before Father's Day. So you can see the reason why events like this have more meaning than just winning and losing. The time that you spend like that together in a setting like that, you can just see that no matter what, it's a complete win just for the family alone.
Yeah, it certainly is. Like I said, I just feel like it's so wholesome and so, yeah, it's so awesome to watch. It really is.
So, Rod, real quick, I just want to mention this. I know that, the audience listens to the podcast every Wednesday or after Wednesday, and they're probably wondering why I haven't said anything about the giveaway. But typically we record just like we are on Sundays. And I want to be fair to the rules of the post and the giveaway. So next week I'll be able to announce the winner, even though everybody would have known that ahead of time. So I still will pick the winner tomorrow night or Tuesday morning after midnight, because I know it closes at 11:59. So if I got any last-minute stragglers popping in, but then next week, I'll make sure that everybody knows about it, as well as if you already have seen the post, it would be out there as well. Ask any golfer and they will tell you their hole-in-one story, whether it went in or not. Chasing Aces was launched with the idea that everybody is welcome on the course. They believe in building a community through their shared love of the game. Golf comes with pressure and expectations, and that includes what you wear. Chasing Aces' hats, performance polos, and t-shirts keep you looking sharp from the clubhouse to the tee box. Visit ChasingAcesGolf.com and find them on Instagram at ChasingAcesGolf. Even the best are chasing aces.
So this next segment that we're going to try to do, I was thinking about things that we could do, Mike, and one of the things that, golf has so many games that you can play on the course, but I feel like so many times we go out and just hey, let's play, you versus me. And that's nice. And if you're only getting out a few times a summer, if you're only playing 5 times, maybe that's what you want to do. But if you're playing the same course or you're playing often, it might be something you want to try, something different, something new. And I have a whole bunch of games I want to go through. I thought we'd tackle one a podcast and just say, hey, this is a game that's an option for you to play over the, come next season. So the first one is really what I think is pretty interesting. These aren't ranked at all, but this week I wanted to tackle a game called Wolf. Wolf is supposed to be played as in a foursome. And Mike, we were texting, you've never heard of this game before.
I can't lie. I went through the list, and I guess 95% of the time when I'm playing golf, it's in a group of 4, and you play better ball of 2, strokes off the low guy, and it's just some sort of Nassau. That's kind of how I play. So then I tossed it out to my dad, because obviously I play a lot of golf with him and his buddies, and have we played this before? And he was kind of reminding me yeah, maybe once or twice we've played it, but I've heard of it. I think if after reading or hearing you talk about it, maybe I've played it, but I can't lie and sit here and say oh yeah, no, Wolf's a great game. Let me tell you, no, I couldn't do that.
So Wolf is played typically in a foursome. I suppose you could play it in a threesome, but it's going to be a little different than what we're about to talk about. And the goal is to have the most points at the end of the round. It doesn't really matter necessarily what your full score is. You're adding up the total amount of points you're going to get. And I'll get to the points in a little bit. So on the first tee, you got your foursome. You throw your tee up to see the order of who's going to tee off first, then second, then third, and then last. The Wolf is always going to be the last person to go. So if you have 4 guys, on hole 1, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th guy is going to be the Wolf. On hole 2, it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 1. Number 1 is going to be the Wolf. On hole 3, it's going to be 3, 4, 1, 2. 2 is going to be the Wolf, and so on and so forth. And you're just going to rotate through all the holes, so everyone's going to get an opportunity to be the Wolf. So we should mention, honors don't matter. So if you had a birdie, but you're not the Wolf, you don't go. It's a little more ready golf. So the Wolf is going to tee off last, and after they watch the first 3 guys hit the ball, their tee shots, they can decide whether they want to pick up a partner or be the lone Wolf.
After the tee shots.
After the tee shots. So you, your dad, your brother, and I are playing. Okay? I'm the Wolf. You 3 guys hit, and your dad, so he puts it way left. Your brother puts it way right, and you hit it down the middle.
Love that scenario, by the way. Love that scenario. And after they listen to this, they'll love that too.
So you're right down the middle. And maybe I haven't been hitting my driver that well that day, so I go, you know what? right? Your dad is way left under the trees. He's going to have to punch out. Your brother's way right. He's in the fescue. He's not going to be able to hit the green. You're probably going to be able to hit the green, and I haven't been hitting it that well that day. So I say I'm going to take Mike as my partner. So now, from there, it's a 2-on-2, and you're playing net best ball, basically is what you're doing. So you go in, you birdie that hole, we all par, you and I get points, okay? I'm going to go the scoring last. So that's one way to do it. That's how you could do it. Now, same scenario, okay? Your dad goes left, your brother goes right, you hit it out of bounds. I go, you know what? I think I can hit the middle of the green, or the middle of the fairway, I can get on the green. I'm going to be the lone wolf for this hole. So now I'm going to try to have, it's still net best ball, but it's now me versus you three. So now if we go in and I birdie the hole, I get all the points, and you guys par it, I get all the points. If you guys beat me, you guys get the points. Okay? Only one of you needs to beat me. This is where Wolf gets a little different. If there's a tie, there's a couple different ways that I've seen to be played. If you're listening to this and want to try it, I don't care how you try it. Do whatever you want. You can push the points to the next hole, so it just kind of rolls over. So if you're the lone wolf, then you're also the lone wolf for the next hole. If you're a twosome, you play it as a twosome all the way through, and the points just keep carrying over. You can play it that way. You can just say, no, like back to regular, no points, like no blood, we're moving on, and just going back. You could play it even a different way if you wanted to. If you were like, hey, let's go, like if you want to double the points the next hole, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. And then whoever has, again, the most points at the end of the day wins the game. And, maybe you're playing, maybe everyone put $20 in and the winner gets $20. Maybe you're doing first and second, you're doing 10 and 5, whatever the case is. But that's basically Wolf. And the scoring goes like this. If the Wolf and the partner win, each of them gets 2 points. If you have that scenario where it's 2-on-2 and the non-Wolf partners win, they get 3 points each. If the lone wolf wins, they get 4 points. If the non-lone wolf trio wins, they each get 1 point. And then from there, you just add up all the points as you go through, and then at the end of the day, whoever has the most points.
You better have someone that's really good at keeping score. You might have to have two scorekeepers.
So for sure, like there's definitely, if you look online, there's a couple different like examples, and because you want to keep the score of everybody. So on the scorecard, you got really 4 slots. The easiest way that I saw this is to have a second scorecard and to just add up the points like they were scores in each boxes. So again, if the wolf and a partner win, they got, that first scenario, you and me are partners, all right? You birdie, I par. On the scorecard, it's going to be a 3 for you, a 4 for me, your brother got a 5, and your dad got an 8. That stays on the scorecard regular. And then on a second scorecard, you would just put in the same boxes, I got +2, you got +2, and then you leave your brother and dad blank.
Or if there's 2 slots on a 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom, you could keep it all on one card. In a sense,
you could keep it all in one, but I do also like I very rarely do you have 8 slots. No,
I agree.
On the
listen, now that you've explained that, I have played something like that, if not that. There's no doubt. I think a lot of the games that we may talk about in this little series here probably is better suited. Well, I shouldn't say better, but easier in a threesome.
I would change the points if we were playing a threesome, because it's 2-on-1. You can change it all you want to.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, there's no doubt it's definitely a good game, especially for like a buddy's trip. Like you're going on a trip, you're going to play multiple rounds, so you're not playing the same game all the time. It's something different. I agree that something like this is tailored to that, unlike you mentioned earlier, where if you're just playing once a week, you just want to play your normal 2-ball, better ball matchup against, two other guys. Like, totally see that. So, yeah, no, listen, it's a good little thing. It's neat. It's fun. Just better make sure someone does a good job keeping score.
The thing that I like about this is it is different, and not everybody is going to like that because not everybody gets out, like we've said before. But I do like that you're still playing your ball. You're still going to be able to post a score from this round. It's still golf. It's not something different and wacky. There's going to be some games where, like, you take a club out of somebody's bag, or, it's still, you're still playing golf, and that's what I liked about it. I liked that it was really different, but also very similar. Like, you're still playing the game.
No, I agree.
Mike, before we truly get to an ending here, I want to talk a little Christmas with you. I got 2 Christmas questions for you. My first question is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Never saw it.
Oh, Mike.
Right, one thing about me is I'm not a movie guy. So, like, in terms of, like, asking me about, like, movies, clearly, I've watched Home Alone, but
Okay.
I can honestly say, like, movies and Mike Porro really don't go hand in hand. Which is crazy, because I'm sure this movie Die Hard is like, people are going to be like, is this guy out of his mind? But I've never seen it.
To be fair, I only watched it Christmas of 2020. It was the first time I watched it. I had, it was, COVID was going on, so I didn't go see family for, people were sick or whatever, so I had a day to myself, and I watched Christmas movies. I must have watched 7 Christmas movies in one day, and one of them was Die Hard, because I was like, I've never seen it, I want to see it.
All right, well, what's question 2?
All right, Mike, question 2, again, you're not going to be able to answer, but question 2 was, give me your top 5 Christmas movies.
See, like, I honestly, I probably couldn't answer that in a really good way, because I'm sure if I say anything, people are be like, dude, what about X, Y, and Z? Clearly, I'm not a movie guy, but I can say, like, Home Alone. I know I brought up, like, I don't know if you consider that. That's a Christmas movie. They're going, like, but I say Home Alone only because my kids and my wife and I, we watched that a couple weeks ago. But, like,
Okay.
I couldn't sit here and recite movies to you about that. I couldn't. I don't know. Now, if you want me to sing Christmas songs, that's a different story. But then we'll really get 0 listeners.
I don't think I need to hear you sing. And I don't sing in public. I mean, I have been called the songbird of my generation, and my voice is a mixture of Fergie and Jesus, but I don't sing in front of people. And that's a movie reference that you don't get either.
No, I just thought you made that up because I was saying that's pretty good.
So I do have I put down some Christmas movies, and I have a list of my top 5 Christmas movies. They're not in order, but they are my 5 favorite, I would say. But I have Elf.
I saw that.
It's with Will Ferrell. Can't go wrong. A Christmas Vacation. Absolutely outstanding. 4 Christmases. Vince Vaughn.
Saw it.
It's a great one. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, there's like 75 versions. I like the Jim Carrey one the best. And then It's a Wonderful Life. Super old school, maybe more nostalgic, but it's a great movie. And those are my, again, in no order, but those are my 5 favorite movies at Christmas time.
That question is better suited for my kids.
Okay. Well, get them on. Go get them.
No.
All right, so a little flop there on my Christmas segment with you and the Christmas movies, but no big deal. We're going to send you now to our interview with Chris Dymek. I've only met Chris a handful of times, very briefly. Honestly, I think it's 3 times, and not for more than a handshake and a hello, anything more than that. He was awesome. He talked to us like, I know you've known him for a long time, Mike. I genuinely felt during this interview that we were old friends. I mean, he really to treat someone who he barely knows and interact with someone who he barely knows like that was very genuine and shows a lot about the kind of person that Chris is. Not to mention that he's the head pro at a premier golf club in New Jersey, 2022 Private Merchandiser Award. He runs an incredible course. He's got an incredible story that we talk about towards the end of the interview. One of the coolest things maybe I've ever heard in golf. And it's awesome. He does a great job. He's personable, he's funny, he's charismatic. It's a great interview.
Tom Mallon and Randy Tranger are board-certified trial attorneys who share more than 40 years of legal experience. They specialize in personal injury matters, workers' compensation cases, and criminal and municipal defense. As certified trial attorneys, they have recovered millions of dollars on behalf of people injured in accidents and employees injured at work. They have offices conveniently located in Freehold and Point Pleasant. For skilled and personalized legal representation, call Mallon and Tranger at 732-780-0230 or check out their website at tmallonlaw.com. Not only are they good people, they're good golfers too.
Hey, boys.
Hey, Chris.
Pro.
How we doing?
What's going on, dude?
How's everything, boys?
It's going well, man. How's it going with you?
Never better.
So tonight's guest is who I think is not only, one of the better head professionals in the area, but someone I always, and appreciate and like to call a friend. Tonight's guest is Chris Dymek, head PGA golf professional at Manasquan River Golf Club. He attended Penn State University. Prior to becoming the head pro at Manasquan River, he was an assistant there from 2008 to 2011. Then he jumped over to Navasink and was an assistant professional there from 2012 to 2013, while also being an assistant professional down in Ocean Reef Club from 2012 to 2013, to when he was nominated or promoted, I should say, to the head golf professional at Manasquan River Golf Club in 2014, where he currently sits, as well as being an NJ PGA board member from 2018 to the present. He's a proud husband to Jillian and a proud father to two kids, Grayson and Georgia. Some other things about Chris, too, that I found is he was the 2021 Professional Development Award recipient from the NJPGA, while this year also being recognized as the 2022 Private Merchandiser of the Year Award recipient. Chris, it's a pleasure to have you on, and thanks for taking some time with us.
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike and Ryan. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the chat for sure.
So to get us started, listen, I speak so highly of you for obvious reasons. I speak so highly of the golf course for obvious reasons. And, I try not to be biased about you or the club, but it's hard not to when you have a place like yours. But before we dive into Manasquan River as a whole, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey from, a kid in high school into college and then kind of to where you are right now?
Yeah. So I appreciate the question, Mike. And, golf's been part of my life forever. When I was, 2-3 years old, my grandfather had me out there on the golf course. And, at that time I was just interested in riding the golf cart and feeding the ducks by the pond. And, but I started taking to the liking to it. And, it became a passion and it became a love. And, the summer months for me weren't really, hanging out late at night and doing the thing. It was more, I was chipping and putting and waiting for carts to come in when I started working at a local club at the age of 14. And, my grandfather got me that job. And ultimately I worked all throughout high school and all throughout my college years, in the summertime there. And, I actually, when I attended Penn State University, I was going to be a high school teacher. And ultimately, after my junior year, I kind of said, this is the direction I want to go. I want to kind of go be a golf pro. I want to do it. I had some mentors back in Pennsylvania that kind of were pushing me in that direction. And then ultimately my grandfather, who was really my mentor in life and my best friend. And, he kind of pushed me that direction too. And the last thing he said to me before he passed away, quite some time ago was, get your PGA membership and become a great golf professional. So ultimately, upon graduation at Penn State, I applied for a job right on PJ Links to Manasquan River Golf Club, which I knew nothing about the Jersey Shore. I knew nothing about Manasquan River. I knew nothing about the area. And I applied for a job that Brent Studer posted. And, he obviously was a pro at Manasquan before me. And, ultimately, I drove down on a December day. And, as you can imagine here at the Jersey Shore in December, there was really nothing going on. But, I drove around the area, and I remember going up to Point Pleasant and driving the shoreline there, and then pulled into Manasquan River Golf Club. And I was there probably 2 hours early in the parking lot because I was so excited to, just interview for a job coming out of college, and I was pumped up. And I remember walking into the golf shop and being like, for those of you that have been at Manasquan River Golf Club, the golf shop is a Macy's of golf shops, and it is certainly overwhelming when you walk in. You're like, holy moly, this is something. But spending time with Brent Studer and Vince Junko, who was Brent's right-hand guy for a long time at Manasquan River, interviewing with them. I remember driving back to Pennsylvania and saying to my parents, man, I want that to become home. And at that time I was a 21-year-old kid that knew nothing about life. And long story short, here we are now. You fast forward 15 years later, and I was fortunate when Brent Studer moved on to step into that role. And it's been absolutely incredible. And, Mike, as you know, from your time spent at Manasquan River, it's truly a family. And we could get into more of that in a little bit, but they've embraced me as their golf professional. They embrace my family. And it really is a pinch yourself moment every single day when you pull into that place. And it's very special. And I am certainly fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Chris, that story is incredible. From two people who are teachers, you made the right decision.
Well, my wife's a teacher too, so I don't want to knock it too much. There's certainly a lot of positives about it for sure.
No doubt. But I mean, to step in it to the way you did, like you can't be at a better club from stage one there and working your way up like you did. Like you said, you want that place to be home, and you've clearly made it home because. Again, Mike always says I'm not biased, but and he's right for a reason. I haven't spent a ton of time at Manasquan. We've met a handful for some different things, but it really is a special place from someone who's again essentially an outsider. You're a great pro from what I can tell, and that course is unbelievable. So you really chose the right path in life here for yourself. So
I appreciate that, Ryan. Like I said, I count my blessings for so many reasons. And, obviously the family I have here at my house, but, like I said, I count my blessings pulling into that club every day, and the relationships that I've created and the staff that I've had work for me that have now moved on to their own jobs. And ultimately, even if they got outside of the business, they're now being successful in life. And the current staff I have, I mean, I literally could go on and on about it forever. And I pinch myself every single day for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously, I like to prepare a little bit before we go. And I always, make like a little interview sheet, a form for me and Ryan to kind of go off so we know what we're doing. Because I'm not someone who likes to just go into this blind, even if with someone like you that I feel like I know very, very well. But the one thing that I wrote is one of the things is like, the way you've made that place a family atmosphere. And it's funny you say that because it's legitimately one of the things on my bullet points here is like how you operate and how you're so open and explain to everybody why the family environment, like the family arena that just you've culturized at that place is why that means so much to you.
Yeah. Well, there is not a better question in the world. And ultimately, when I interviewed for the job to take over for Brent, I told them when I was an assistant pro at Manasquan River from 2008 to 2011, I was excited to go to work every single day there. And ultimately, I told them that will continue for the rest of my career. And number one is going to be providing the best possible service to the members and guests. But a close 1B is going to be what I do with my staff and creating that family environment. And really the first thing I say to any staff member that comes in and starts working for me is you have now become part of my family forever. I don't care if you work for me for one day or 5 years. You are literally part of my family. And, I want to grow a tree that, just continues to grow and grow and grow. And one day, hopefully 30 years down the road from now, when I decide to call it quits being a golf pro, I could have a big dinner with all of my former staff, and I could look out there and be like, every single one of them are being successful in life, whether it's in golf or whether it's in raising a family or doing their own thing. And for me, that's ultimately the number one thing in life. And I think because of that and what we've created inside the golf shop, I feel like that's really transpired what you see outside at the club. I really feel that they feed off of our family style in the golf shop and what we're trying to present. And they've embraced myself and my staff. And, it's a nonstop family feel for sure. And that's all I want.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you firsthand, like, again, I try not to be biased, especially when I talk about you or the club, but like, that's clearly something that, I thought of and wrote down even before actually hearing it from your voice, because if you ask me kind of to describe that place, take away the golf course, the membership, the clubhouse, the pro shop, like, I think what you've established there with that specifically, is bar none, probably going to be your greatest achievement, regardless of what you do on the golf course or off the golf course.
I appreciate it.
But I mean, so let's get into what I like to consider the best part of it.
Hold on, let me come back here. Chris, you heard him say, I hate to be biased, but
no doubt.
Every time.
But
every time.
I say that because just like a lot of people, I think I can be a very opinionated person. There's no doubt. I can tell you the cold hard truth, and you may not like it, but I'm not going to lie to you. And I think with that place, and I know that the audience may say, well, you grew up there. Your grandfather was a huge part of that place. Your dad won the club championship. Your uncle's still there. I get all that. But I think if I took someone who's never played 18 holes there and let them experience the time that the caddy master would pick up the bags from your cart and walk it down to the driving range, to you walking into Chris's shop, like, you would have the exact same opinion of that place. That's why I say it that way, because I know the audience sometimes will DM me and say, like, you're biased. That's not right. But it's the truth. No. And that's why I say that. And,
yeah,
I fight so hard to defend it.
And what I'll say about that real quick, Mike and Ryan, is, one thing I pride myself on is, I get to go visit a lot of great places, and God, you name it, I've been there, I've played it. And, the next 2 days I'm going to be at the Philly Cricket Club playing in their pro member. And, I can't wait to do that. That's one of my favorite events each year. And, the first thing I do when I arrive at a great top level club, and any golf club that is, no matter where I'm playing, is I'll walk into the golf shop. And my ultimate goal is, when I leave every single golf shop I walk into, is I got to take a piece of something and learn it. Or whether it's why I'm out during the round of golf, or, what do they do? Like, what kind of tee markers are they using? What kind of flags are they using? What kind of rakes are they using? What are their mowing patterns? And, I'm always trying to leave some great place with something that I could come back and say, that little tidbit thing could make Manasquan just that much better. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do every single day.
Yeah, I like to poke fun at Mike a little bit there, Chris. But I from someone who's worked at other golf courses in the roles that are not like the outside ops people, like, that is a really meaningful and thoughtful way to go about running the club. That you've thought about the guy who's just cleaning clubs and putting them back on the racks. Like, that's something that goes a long way, that you're thinking about them like family. And that bleeds into them working better, working harder. People are going to go to battle for you not that golf's a battle, but like they're gonna do a little bit extra, do a little more, be happier at their job if they feel like it's coming from the top down. And I'm sure then that, like, it's a circle. Like, you doing that makes the employees happier, better at their job, which in turn makes the members happier because they're getting things that are, they're getting a better product. So that's certainly like a full circle there that you've clearly thought about. Yeah, that's.
And listen, you as the head golf professional, and you as your whole golf operation, you're only as good as the 14-year-old kid working in the bag room, greeting people after their round. And I could go on and name some employees, but I would like to take a minute to just recognize one individual. Like, when I took over as a head golf professional, my first hire was a gentleman that was my right-hand guy for 9 years outside. And, Sean McPherson, I hope he listens to this, and, he's a good friend of Mike's, and Ryan, you may know him. And, that it was a two-man job to get Manasquan to where we are now. And I wouldn't be who I am without him, and that operation would be what it is without him. And he worked with me day in and day out, and we got it to there. And now we got a great guy in Austin that stepped into that role. And you may have Austin on here one day because he's a former outside operations. And, really, I have to recognize Sean McPherson, because he just took that place to a whole new level outside for me, for sure.
Yeah. Now, listen, to piggyback that, I mean, I've been caddying there since I was 13 years old, and we've gone through our handful of caddy masters and outside ops people. And, I've always said the same thing to him, that like, this place, from where it was as a caddy before you started to where it is now, and how Austin has probably learned a lot of things that Sean has done, while also putting his own little stamp on things. The work ethic is just something you can't teach. And there was nobody that grinded, in my opinion, harder than him, put everything he had into that job. And like you're saying, it's not only you that mentioned that, but the membership clearly saw the value of someone like Sean, and getting someone like Austin to finally come in there and, hopefully carry that a little bit, that there's no doubt that's got to make a job like yours a little less stressful.
Yeah, no, it was certainly less stressful with Sean. And yeah. Austin has taken that in stride, and really, he's become a little brother to me. And he's really, who knows how long he'll do it. I think he has big goals in life, and I want him to be successful, and no matter what he does. But for right now, I think it's a great gig for him, and I think he's just going to lead that place to new heights for sure.
Are you saying Austin, like Austin? Devereaux. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was working over there. So
yeah, he's been there for a while.
He's
So Austin started working at Manasquan when he was 14, caddying. Yeah. Ultimately started working for Sean in the bag room, probably at 16, 17 years old. And, he just graduated Ryder after, playing in the NCAAs. He played in the NCAAs his last 2 years, and obviously the 2019, New Jersey amateur champion at Arcola, which is just off the charts. And he doesn't really know what he wants to do in life yet, and it could go a golf direction, but right now he's took on the role of our director of outside ops. And he would be a great guy to have on here, because obviously he's a world-class player. And we're hosting the New Jersey amateur next year, and it's going to be a fine line when he is the director of outside operations and probably one of the best players in the field. Listen, I'll become the director of outside operations that week and just let him do his thing and go out and play. So
it's when I heard that too, I was like, wow. And that's when I texted you. When I heard that, I was like, I need to text him to see if what I'm hearing is accurate. And when you said yes, I was like, holy hell. Like, that's everybody there that has never played there is in for such a treat. But let's go into the golf course. Okay. Yeah. Because, again, that's something that, Ryan hears me rant and rave about nonstop. We've been fortunate to play with some different guys, and I continue just to ask them, you ever played there? And I think the transition that golf course has taken in the years that I've been there to where it is now is unreal. I think the vision that you and the members have had there just make that place even better, even more special. And when you think a product or a place can't get better and you find a little thing here or there to make it even better, you're kind of just blown away. Um, why don't you talk a little bit about the golf course itself?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you start with what an amazing piece of property. Just to have those rolling hills and to have that real estate in a market that, God knows what they could sell that for. I mean,
No
it's
doubt.
just insane. And
No
and
doubt.
to have those rolling hills up in the hills with, previews and little views of what's to come. And then, to make your way over across the road. But, let me first start about the history. And, Robert White designed the golf course in, 1922. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary right now. And ultimately in 23, the first 9 holes were ready to get played. And that was ultimately the back nine as it sits right now, across the water, across the road out by the water. And then it got completed in 1926. All 18 holes were there. And, Robert White, probably more known for being a man of many traits. He was the first president of the PGA of America. He was a superintendent. He did it all. And probably I would like to say Manasquan's his finest golf course that he's ever designed. Longview out in Pittsburgh is a very well-known golf course as well. But I would say Manasquan Rivers is his top level one. And, I don't think it was pretty much untouched until the 70s and 80s. And then, we've had some incredible playing members at the club. And, probably the best one of all time is arguably the best amateur in the history of New Jersey is Bob Housen. And just an incredible man. And, I think he had a vision that it was time to do some work to the club. And I think with him and other individuals at the club, they hired a gentleman by the name of Ron Pritchard, who's been a restoration architect around the country for quite some time. And, he occasionally would touch some things, but they never went into a deep project. But they would chip away at little things here and there, and they would just try to make it a little bit better and better. And then ultimately in the late 2000s and 10s, around 17, 18, we ultimately went through a process that, it was time to make significant changes. And we hired a gentleman by the name of Andrew Green. And, if you're following anything to do with golf course architecture right now, Andrew Green, besides Gil Hanse, he's probably the hottest name out there. He's really, he's done Oak Hill, which is going to host the PGA next year. And, he's done Congressional, which is going to host the PGA here in the near future. And his name's going to start getting out there more and more because of what he's about, these courses that are about to be showcased. But, we brought him in, and it wasn't an easy process. There was people there at the club that loved what was already there. And I think there was some reluctancy to go down that road, and rightfully so. I mean, people are prideful of what they got, but Andrew had a vision, and ultimately the board at the time that was led by, some significant people at the club that had that right vision as well. And ultimately the long range planning committee led by Andrew Kelly, who's our current president, they definitely had that vision that we want to take it to the next level. And, he saw that property, and I walked it with him for the first time. And he was just exactly how I started this conversation. He was blown away with the property. And then ultimately, the combination of some tree removal, the combination of putting a brand new irrigation system in, the combination of redoing every single bunker on the property, the combination of building some new tee boxes, whether it's tees further back or whether it's tees further forward for our juniors or our female golfers or our senior players. And then he's built 6 brand new greens out there, the putting green, and then 5 greens on the golf course. And I think he restored it back to what Robert White originally did. And, as we talked about, the topography, the terrain is incredible and, in my opinion, unmatched in New Jersey. And now it's got conditions because of tree removal and a new irrigation system that really are first class as well. So I think for anybody that has the opportunity to play it, they're going to be treated to something that is, really, really darn special. And that's all you hear from people when they play it for the first time. So And I take pride in having those conversations with people in the men's grill or on the range after the round. What do you think? And, it's a pretty cool moment when they tell you what they thought about it after playing it for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I say to Ryan all the time, like those 6 holes across the street, like you tell me you find better 6 holes that you got not only phenomenal golf, but the views are just stupid nice. And I don't care, like someone may say, well, 13's going back, the other way. No, 13's going back into the clubhouse right in a distance where it is beautiful. So like you can't even argue when it goes opposite the river that it's a bad look because you got this picturesque clubhouse in the background of 13. And then what I say to everybody when I'm over there is like, you want the best walk from 16 to 17. There's not a better walk than that. I don't care if you're a caddy, a player, a guest, like go walk that. It is like breathtaking.
No question. And, one thing that we don't ever really talk about, but, people probably should is, and think about the wind conditions, like when you're out there on that water and, it could be the middle of the summer, it could be spring or fall. And, those wind conditions pick up. I mean, it's incredible. But yeah, to answer that and what you just said, like I would tell anybody step on the back tee on 13 and you tell me that hole's not good.
Yeah.
There's not a better backdrop of a tee box in the state, and like you said, the walk from 16 to 17, listen, there might be better golf courses in New Jersey. And obviously there's ones that are ranked as high as obviously Pine Valley, #1 but that walk from 16 to 17, I'd put that up against any walk in New Jersey for sure.
Yeah,
no question.
I totally agree.
So Chris, a buddy of mine is Brian Norrie, who's the new chef for you guys. So he's very unique person.
Put it this way, so hopefully Brian will listen to this as well, maybe one day. And I've got to know Brian a little bit over this last month. And as I've told every member that I've played golf with since meeting Brian is, man, did we get a home run of a guy. Just the vision he has and the passion for what he does. And, what I just talked about, what we've done to the golf course, I think Brian's ready to do inside the clubhouse and take that to a whole new level because, man, he's got those same visions and it's exciting when you talk about it for sure.
Yeah, he's certainly a passionate dude, and he, like, everything he does is all in, and he's gonna, like you said, you hit a home run. I mean, you go from where he was as a chef in the city to coming down here, and just he's gonna do great things with the kitchen, the menu. I was on the phone with him one time, and he was in the kitchen. He was talking about like something small. It was like going from, he wanted whipped butter on the table, not like cubes of butter on the table. And it's little details like that you got a guy that's in the right spot that's gonna, like you said, make those changes. You guys made them to the golf course. Now changes to the halfway house menu, the dinner menu, the lunch menu, all that kind of stuff. He's going to do great things there. He's
By the way, he loves the game of golf probably more than I do too.
It's incredible. I mean, he plays and he plays more golf than any person in America. It's amazing. He's at, every time I look, it's like he'll post on a Tuesday or Wednesday. It's like, oh, he played Sabonic this Monday, National this Monday. It went up to someplace in, out in Pennsylvania and played that. It's incredible. He's passionate.
Well, you'll probably see he reached out to me earlier today, and I got him heading up to Somerset Hills tomorrow. So he'll probably have that posted next.
Yep. He certainly will. He certainly will. That's what he does. He actually we, again, through connections through where he was in the city, he brought me up to Ridgewood last year and got to play Ridgewood, which was, I mean, there's no other way I'm getting on there. It was just incredible. And he was nice enough. And the members that we were there with were great guys. And it was just like, but that's just like that's his, when he's off, that's what he's doing. He's playing Ridgewood. He's playing Somerset. He's playing, he's all over.
Good. Yeah. He's a good man. We're lucky to have him.
For sure. That's a big hit for you guys.
Let's talk a little bit about your game this year. And I tried digging, and I think I found some things. And again, I need you to correct me if I'm wrong. But I looking at your stats and whatnot, I thought you had a phenomenal season individually. I thought it was some solid play all around. I'm sure you may be a little disappointed with the NJPGA at the club. But overall, when you take it from the beginning to the end, like I have you down as like 9 top 10 finishes in NJPGA events. I mean, when you talk about consistency, I mean, that's kind of hard to top. It's not like you're a one-hit wonder where you play well and you finish second and then you got a bunch of 42nds and a bunch of 45ths. To me, when I looked at, your result sheet from their site, it was rock solid. It was steady. How do you feel like your game was this year compared to maybe others?
Yeah. So listen, I do what I do because I love golf. Um, you know, and somebody told me when I first got started in this that if that day comes that you still don't get that feeling when you put the tee in on the first hole, like you probably should get out of the business. And for me personally, that grind of going and playing competitive golf. I mean, there's nothing better. And listen, I have good days, I have bad days, and I've had some good events this year. You mentioned hosting the section championship for me was probably one of my proudest moments, hosting that section championship. Took a lot of pride in it. It's our biggest event of the year as a professional. And having it at Manasquan River was really, a feather in the cap for me personally and for the club. And, I was amped up, man. I was, I wish I could do some things over again. And I wish I could get more sleep at night and, maybe even take some NyQuil and pass out, but I was amped up and, I played the first 9 holes in 1 under, man. And I was kind of pinching myself, and I get to the 10th tee and they have a leaderboard right there. And at that point I was the only person under par. And, it probably actually was the worst thing that I could have seen because, it got me even more amped up, and it got me thinking things that you do on a golf course that you just got to kind of put in the back of your head and not think that way. And my remaining 27 holes until I missed the cut was probably as bad as I've played Manasquan River since my time has been there. And, so you learn from that. And listen, in my time at Manasquan River, God willing, there's going to be another big one, and I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to be ready to do that. And, it lit a fire in me, and, there's things I'm going to try to do physically this offseason to get in better shape and get ready. And then, I've actually started taking some lessons from the director of instruction over at Matita Keelan. And, I'll have my 3rd lesson with him this upcoming Thursday. And, we're working on some things, and I'm definitely seeing some good strides. And, I think 2023 is going to be a good year for me playing wise. And, I'm going to have that right mindset. But as a whole, it was a good year. That was a bummer at the end, but we're prideful in our game, and that's what keeps us going for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, Chris, it's not a ton of pros get to play nearly as much as they want to or as they can. It seems like you don't have any like restrictions at Manasquan. Do they encourage you playing? Do they say play but only play in certain, like how does that with the club's management, how does that work?
Yeah, Ryan, great question. And I'll talk to my colleagues all the time, and I'm gonna say, this is why I pinch myself. I may have it better than everybody else because we're all hear stories of them. I don't really have those stories. The membership and the upper management and the board members, they want me and the staff out there playing golf. We have to run a lot of golf tournaments, and we're doing that on the weekends. But ultimately, if we don't have tournament golf going on, they want us out there, and I want my staff out there. I am all about pushing my guys out there to play golf. But when it comes to tournament golf, I think more importantly, my wife, I couldn't do it without her. The fact that, she's okay with me on that Monday off, driving up to North Jersey and playing in a golf tournament while, she's home with the kids. I mean, that's a credit to her. And, she allows me to do that. And she knows it's important to me. So, I couldn't do it without her, and it's a total team effort. And, whether I shoot 70 or whether I shoot 80 when I walk in the door, my son Grayson, my daughter Georgia are going to be there with a smile, and they're going to be ready for a big hug. So, that makes it exciting to be driving back home to them for sure.
That's awesome, because there's, like you said, there's some others that don't have that freedom, and that's great that you have both the staff that allows you to be comfortable with, like, hey, I'm going to play today. You're running the show here, and then vice versa. Like you said, it comes from the top down earlier when we were talking. Hey guys, go, like, send in your assistant, go play, go work on your game yourselves, all that kind of stuff. That's awesome to hear.
Chris, I had to tell Ryan a little bit about the Matt Fitzpatrick story.
Yeah.
About how he showed up at the club and he's got the trophy in the passenger seat. And Ryan just couldn't help himself but start laughing at, like, the guy showed up to the club with the trophy in the passenger seat. Like, tell Ryan that story about how you were fortunate to play with him, like how he showed up, and maybe even some of his thoughts, again, from a complete world ranked top 10 player. Like, I mean, I know, again, I say I'm biased, but, like, what does a guy like that say when he shows up?
Yeah. So, I'll start it by saying, the club has been in existence for 100 years. And, Matt Fitzpatrick walking those fairways is definitely the greatest player to ever walk those fairways. We're talking about a U.S. Open champion. And
he just won. He literally just won the thing. It's not like 3 years later. We're talking like a week after the dude shows up.
Right. Did he show up? What? Go ahead. You tell the story, and I'll ask questions as I go.
Yeah. So how it all happened, it was literally the Thursday of the biggest weekend of the year at the club. Our Bristol member guests. It kicks off Thursday with practice rounds. Mike's dad's there running his mouth, barking orders, all this kind of stuff.
What? I can't. I don't see that.
But ultimately, we're getting ready. Practice rounds are going on. We're getting the putting contest set up. I'm finishing the calligraphy scoreboards in my office. And, my director of outside operation walks in at approximately 10 in the morning, and he goes, "Pro, you're not going to believe this, but, a big black SUV just pulled up, and I pulled out Matt Fitzpatrick's clubs." And literally, this is 4 days after he won the U.S. Open. Literally 4 days after. And I looked up at him and I go, "Get the hell out of here," and he literally said, "Yes, I did." And I looked out the window and Matt was walking down, and long story short, I had no clue about this, but he's in a relationship with one of our, older junior members, in her early 30s. And, they seem to have a great thing going. And, I went out and played 9 holes with him that day in a cart, and we bounced around a little bit, but and that's a credit to my president that I called him on one of our busiest days of the club. And he's like, "Listen, you got to go out and play with him." But, more importantly, about a month later after that, Matt came back and we did it the right way on a Friday morning, walked with a caddy. And, so I got to pick his brain a little bit more during that round and got to ask him about the golf course. And, what he said about Manasquan River was, plain and simple, he goes, "This is a place that you could never get tired of playing." He goes, it's a tremendous piece of property. He goes, it's a golf course that provides playability for the member, but at the same time presents a challenge for the top level player. And, I don't know how serious Matt was taking it, but, it was his second time seeing the golf course. And, this is the U.S. Open champion, and he shot 68. People would probably think, "Oh, he'll go around there and shoot 58. But, that just tells you that Manasquan's a good test. And I'm sure if he wanted to buckle down and practice for a week, he could probably shoot the course record in a flinch. But it was the most impressive thing I've ever watched, ball striking wise. When you combine distance and accuracy, he's the best driver of the golf ball I've ever played with. So,
wow. So as the pro, yeah, I have so many questions. I'm trying to
filter. He can't comprehend that. When I was telling him that, he's like, "There's no way."
So it's not even. So Mike left out that it was a busy weekend, that you had like a huge outing going.
Biggest one of the year.
So he just.
I forgot. Honestly, I forgot to.
he
And
just
I was
showed.
still like you. I'm awestruck. The guy actually showed up.
Yeah, I'm just blown away. So he didn't call, because I know, like, if you are a pro, like if Rory McIlroy called and said, like, "Hey Chris, I'm in the area coming through. I heard good things. Can I play?" No doubt, I got that. This guy just showed up without a tee time and just like pardon my language, just big dicked it with like, "Hey, the U.S. Open trophy's in the passenger seat. Me and my friend are going to play golf." Like that's the impression of the story that I got. That just like, hey,
I'll tell you, well, it's not far off, but he was there with a member of the club, so
okay,
he was an invited guest, obviously by her. But yeah, there was no formal notice, and there was really no word going around the club at all about it. I mean, it came so quick and happened so quick without anybody knowing that. I think that was a better thing. Like I said, the guy won the U.S. Open 4 days prior, and the fact that only about 12 members got to go out and watch him play, he probably actually appreciated that,
yeah,
because
I'm sure.
if it was announced, there would have been 300 out there.
Yeah.
I would have been as a caddy. I'll do anything you want. I'll fix the divots. I'll put the tee in for you. You tell me. But listen, I appreciate you coming on here and taking, a decent amount of your time. But Ryan and I always like to kind of end us with two questions, and I kind of go first and I let him kind of wrap it up. But obviously, as someone who's played a lot of golf in the state of New Jersey, one of the themes that we have here is like golfing in the Garden State. And
Yeah.
one of the ideas behind this is like, I don't think you can find a better state, maybe up for debate or argument, but you can see everything here. The topography here, if you want to go to the Northwest and play in the mountains, if you want to go to a place like yours and play on the river, you want to go to the sandy dunes in South Jersey, like there's all the different spots, that you can really play. For someone that's listening, like if you could give me like off the top of your head, maybe your favorite public course that the average Joe like Ryan and I can go play easily, or if we were invited to a special private place, and again, you have to take your bias out of Manasquan River, so that doesn't count. Like someone invites you to go play, and I'm not counting Pine Valley either, but
Yep.
you drop everything, you say, I'm finding a way to go.
Yeah.
What are your two?
So there's obviously so many great public golf courses, but I think you could look right in this area, right in Monmouth County, and Hominy Hills is good as it gets. And I'll mention one more public place that's up in northern New Jersey, Crystal Springs Resort. I mean, what they got going on there is spectacular as well. So you have great opportunities to play phenomenal golf courses and not have to be a member. When it comes to the private side of it, for me, what they've done there over time and what they've created, Arcola Country Club up in Paramus, New Jersey, does it for me more than any other golf course in the state of New Jersey. And that's inclusive of Pine Valley. For me, visually, it just does that for me. It's become my number one in the state.
Wow.
That is huge.
That is the first time we've gotten that one. You know what everybody always says? We've asked this question to so many people that we've had on. We've been so lucky that people are open and willing like yourself to come on, because I know we're new and I know it's something that we're just started, but everybody we've talked to has been open like yourself to come on here. And I've asked that question. And like the undenying answer everybody says is Baltusrol lower. That's everybody's answer. So to finally get an answer kind of different than that is like, it's refreshing to hear.
And to say that you'd put that in the same category as Pine, like even higher than Pine Valley, like that goes a long, long way. That is, wow. Is it something they've done recently? Like I don't, again, never played it. Is that a like, did they go through a restoration in the last however long, or?
They've spent a lot of money there. They've done a lot of great things over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But Ryan, it's all personal preference.
Oh, like, no, I get that. Yeah, I didn't mean
and listen, you don't see Arcola in the top 100 in the world, but obviously Pine Valley is number one in the world. But for me personally, like whatever it does for me visually when I'm on all those tee boxes, just the cleanliness of it, visually. It really does it for me. And I talk to other people about it. They always host a pro-am there, so I'll always bring 3 new members every year. And the whole ride up, I'm like, man, this is my favorite one. And sometimes they get back in the car with me and they're like, yeah, I could see it. And sometimes they're like, "Pro, what are you smoking?" Like, that didn't do it for me, but for me it does it, and I really, really love every time I get the opportunity to play there.
Awesome.
I'm stunned by that answer.
Yeah.
I really am. I thought I'd get I didn't think I'd get Baltusrol lower. I kind of thought we'd get something new, but I definitely was not. Arcola was not on my radar. But that's great to hear.
Yeah. Chris, golfers are kind of quirky by nature. We kind of have our own, for whatever reason, we think that lining, something up in a particular way is gonna do something, or some kind of pre-shot routine matters, or things like that. What are some of your quirks that you might have with like tees in the pocket, or right? I see you smiling already. You're like, oh man, I'm getting called out on my weirdness. So like, what is it that you have pre-round, during round, post-round that you think is like a quirk that is, it's kind of weird, but you're going to keep doing it anyway?
Yeah. So, tournament golf's different than regular golf. And as you can imagine, a lot of regular golf for me at the club is, hey, pro, come join us on the first tee. And I got like 2 minutes to get there. So none of this kind of stuff happens when I'm playing regular golf at the club. But for tournament golf for me, and this has started, some of these things started way back when I was in high school and then college and whatnot. I don't tie my shoes until the first tee. I don't tie my golf shoes until the first tee. So I'll do my whole pre-shot routine. I mean, my warm up on the range and on the putting green, and I don't tie
shoes tied.
I don't tie my shoes until the first tee, and that's something that I've always done in tournament golf. Three other
that. You lace them up like all right, let's get to work. Let's go. Yeah, I like that.
I got 3 other things, and the first one's a weird one. The other 2 are, sentimental or whatever. But I put 2 tees in my left pocket that I won't touch the entire round. I got the ones I use and the ball markers and the divot tool and all that kind of in my right pocket. 2 in my left that I'll just kind of leave there all day. And then the last 2 for me is I say a little prayer to my grandfather before I play every tournament round, because he was the one that got me started in the game of golf. And then, I got a scorecard holder that has a picture of my wife and my kids in there. And anytime I hit a bad shot, I try to look at it and say, life's pretty good. Why get upset over this? So those are kind of the things I like to do during tournament golf that kind of keep me going. And some of them are weird, but some of them are probably a little bit more meaningful to me than others. For sure.
No, I love that third one. I'm stealing that one. I think for someone who's a maniac like myself and can go ride the roller coaster to no end, like that is a great suggestion for someone like me. I'm stealing that one. But the 2 T's, right? Everybody does 2 T's.
Everybody does 2 T's, but you're the first that so. You have them in your left pocket, 2 tees you're not going to touch. Do they say something? Are they from Manasquan, or do they need to be like they need to be plastic, like just 2 random, like you're pulling out 4 tees, 2 in one pocket, 2 in another.
Yeah, whichever 2 tees come out of my golf bag, that the first 2 tees that come out of my golf bag will go in that left pocket.
Okay.
I swear, everybody does the 2 T.
So, Mike, that was what was wrong. You had them in the right pocket. So they needed to be in the left pocket. You weren't balanced.
Everybody talks about the 2 T thing, right? Everybody. So I said, I don't know, man. I'm trying the 2 T thing. Well, Chris, I played the worst 9 at Little Mill that I've probably played in a long time. I was embarrassed. I shot 44 on the front 9.
Yeah.
And I swear to God,
pretty crappy.
I said, I'm done with I'm done with these 2 tees. We start the back 9. I take a handful of tees, throw in my pocket. The last 18, I go 38, 36. I'm done with this 2 T thing. I can't buy into the 2 T thing.
Listen.
So he's stuffing his pockets like he's at a buffet, and he's like got lined plastic. He's got tees falling all over the place.
To each his own, man. To each his own. Don't worry, I'm gonna go stuff my face at dinner like I'm going to a buffet.
But listen, I don't want to take up any more of your time, and I can't thank you enough for coming on here. And obviously, when I asked the question, there was no hesitation. You were all in on it. So, some guys it takes me a little while to convince and explain what we're trying to do, but thankfully I didn't have to do that with you. You were all in. So, just like I said at the top, like not only do I think the world of you as a pro, but it's nice to call you a friend as well.
Yeah, well, feelings mutual, Mike and Ryan. Listen, this relationship for your podcast doesn't end here. Let's get you guys out to Manasquan. Let's play some golf. Let's do a hole or two on the air or something like that. And I'm here to help you guys, and anything I could do to grow the game of golf. And I think that's what you guys are trying to do and highlight New Jersey. I'm here to help that as well. So I'm a friend of your guys, and whatever I could do.
Oh, Chris, thank you. That means a lot. That was sincere. I appreciate that. I'll echo Mike. Thank you. I feel like knew a little bit about you, before and our limited interactions, and this was awesome.
My pleasure, guys. Have
Thanks,
a good
Chris.
night. All right.
See you, pal.